We're going to start the meeting of the Animal Control Ad-Hoc Committee, November 21st, 2024. And Commissioner Boyd cannot make it. She's not feeling well. So I'll go ahead and open us in prayer. Dear Jesus, thank you for this day. Thank you for everything you've done for us. Lord, we just thank you for building us the way that you did. I pray, Lord, that you would just help us to use the attributes you gave us to convey our thoughts so that others can hear us, not just our voices, but our hearts. We get passionate in these meetings, but I pray that you just decipher what's truly being conveyed, and it's a love for these animals that you've created also, Lord. We thank you for being here with us.
Amen.
Approval of the agenda, do I have a motion for that?
Motion approved.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, approval of the minutes. Entertain a motion.
Motion approved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, recognition of the public. Roger Smith. State your name and address, please.
Roger Smith, I live at 2306 New Oak Road, that's in Hendersonville. Cindy and I went to the Calls and Pumpkins that the Animal Control put on, and we were amazed at what really goes on there. I commend you, sir, for not only what you're doing, but we got to meet the inmates. We went in and saw the animals, and they're taken care of very well. It looks like it's a pretty smooth running ship now, to me. That was the first time I've been in there, but I was impressed on what went on. The only problem I see with anything like that is if you want to be able to donate to you, it can't happen. So I don't know if there's a way that there's a Friends of Lincoln County. Could there be a Friends of Sumner County Animal Control to give them more help? Because here's an example. There was a little bulldog that had a cancer, but it wasn't life-threatening cancer. It was just cosmetic. Well, it would have been nice for that little doggy to be able to get some help, but his hands are tied. It can't happen. So if there was some way, somehow, that something could be formed, a nonprofit or whatever it might be, I just want to go on the record. The man needs more help than he's getting. And I know that there's a lot given to a lot of different places and things that needs it, animal control, whatever else, highways and everything. But there's a limit that we all have, and he's at his limit on some things like that. So I just wanted to recognize him and let you know that there's more help needed than what they're getting. It's not our fault. It's just the way the law is. So that's it. Thank you.
Ms. Capiaro.
Hi, my name is Kathy Arlen. I live at 230. And two things on my agenda for tonight. So first of all, I just want to say kudos to whoever's doing the Facebook information right now. They're in the last week and a half, 2 weeks, really some good posting, some posting that apparently has gotten some adoptions going. So the same concerns about spay neuter. My understanding is that there has been some discussion with Sarah over at Sumner Spay Neuter, maybe some things that have started to move forward. I can feel that that is the case. I'm still firmly of the opinion that animals should never go out with us not from spay neuter, unless it's for age reasons. But anyway, the Facebook activity, what's happening, is very good. So I would say that. One thing I wanted to bring to your attention, I'll probably get done this before tonight, but y'all are having some real phone issues. When you call, especially on Saturdays, it very rarely gets answered. And there's some prompts on there, especially for safe place for animals, where it goes to rescue and it says the call can't be completed or something along the lines. You can't even get through to even an answering machine when you use the this ended up on the news, and wondering if we can get an update on that regarding, in my opinion, arrest, prosecution, and jail time for this guy. But that's my opinion. That's for the court to decide. But I'm wondering if we can give some update on what was a really bad situation. And we were curious whether or not everybody, with regard to cruelty investigations, if everybody on animal control has been up to date on the new guidelines as we go into winter for adequate shelter laws within the state of Tennessee. They're pretty specific. And I know last year during some of the colder times, we get quite a few calls from people that either were not able to get in touch with animal control to tell us a lot of times about animals they're concerned about that are out in the wild. And then the other thing that I'll bring up is we're continuing to hear concerns and rumors about this Ad-Hoc committee meeting being shut down. And I know it was moved that we could go for another 6 months, so I'm hoping that at least can happen. And to piggyback on what was said for the idea of a friend of, I'd say there's 2 different ways that can be accomplished so that more money can come to take care of animals, and that is through a type of a friend of or a public-private partnership, which is the other way that it can be done. So to contract with an actual 501c3 organization with people that are adequately trained to do that type of work. So that is another way that that kind of funding can happen. So I'm not necessarily opposed to the Friends of. I think it would be a step in the right direction, and maybe it's a step in the right direction to get us to that kind of bridge. But either way, I would say there's maybe a funding gap that is happening for animal control as this county is bigger. I know that's not for this Ad-Hoc necessarily, but I think funding, especially with regards to facilities, would be very important. So that's all. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else listen to speak? All right, we're going to close the public comments. Report of the chair. So, I also heard that the Facebook posts are a lot better. Like, people are really commenting on how much better that was and leading to more adoptions. What has changed there?
So it's a 2-part thing. One, there were some IT glitches, and some of them were on our side of the house, and some of them were not.
Some of the software based, right?
They were, and we went through. I won't get stuck up in my voice. We went through the proper channels with their IT. I oversee. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Yeah,
I've been going through that.
Yeah, I've been going all day long.
Everybody's doing it.
But at any rate, we took the right channels. We had our IT people talking. If I call an IT guy, I don't speak that jargon, and so I had our IT director call and say there is an issue obviously with posting and with these smooth transitions. We have been able to. I will not lie that I think that the Paws and Pumpkin re-energized some of our shelter personnel, and they got excited again. And I think that's what we do, and they're more excited now than they've ever been. And while I think there are some people that looked at the Ad-Hoc committee as an oversight for what we do, I go back and report to them the same warm welcome that you gave me last time I was here. And it's not a group of people that are coming after. They really genuinely want to help, and meeting Mr. Smith at that event and him offering his expertise in electrician to work through some of our medical suite side of the shelter, that's invigorating to our employees, and they need that uptick too. Lieutenant Tarlack, he's still there. He's still doing a great job. But I think, I'd like to think maybe even I had a part of it because I am a more approachable person than maybe some other commanders that they had. So I like to think that it was a culmination of a lot of things. Us getting the word out, spreading the word. I think the Paws and Pumpkins was an amazing event. And I look forward to it again next year. I've got some statistics when we get to that point if you want to hear them about intake outgoes.
I do. No, I particularly wanted to ask about the Facebook pages because so much positive comments were made that the public's going to hold you to that.
Yeah.
Because it's been lacking for so long. To see that the glitches have been fixed, and that's encouraging to everybody. And,
Yeah.
It is exciting for the public to see that we're making a difference. And when I say we, I'm not talking about the community, I'm saying we, everybody. It's been a team effort, and so I just wanted to say that thank you for getting that Facebook glitch fixed and working that out. So somebody will be manning that now all the time.
We are, and
he's gonna stay on that.
And the county commission was able to give the sheriff's office a second IT person.
Yes.
For 360 personnel. I mean, there's a lot of
That was
machines.
the next thing, did that come into
It
play?
did absolutely come into play. When you've got one guy, he's putting out fires all day long, and sometimes the fire with Facebook and Animal Services, a support agency, falls on priority to a jail system or to a system that ensures safety of an officer in a car. So we have to prioritize, and now that we've got the two folks, it seems like everything has shifted up as far as priority in getting those tickets.
Well, my hopes are that, so this committee was responsible for pushing for, I think, almost $200,000 of extra funding, but a side note to that was the extra IT guy for sheriff is now helping out animal control also. And my hopes are that now that it's able to be handled by this extra person, that it doesn't get pushed down as you guys grow, now that it's a solved problem as far as the software issue and lack of personnel thing. I hope now that it becomes a priority and going forward, we don't have that issue anymore, because we all learned something during this process. So.
Well, I think with IT, there was a lot of maintenance issues that were hanging and looming, and then as they get fixed and more problems come on and priorities change, I think then that scale will balance. And we've got a way now that we're tracking each ticket within our IT requests, and it seems to be a successful way. My hat's off to the two guys at our sheriff's office that keep us connected. Yeah.
Good.
I did get a Nepal program. It was great. I mean, the first one they had, and it was great.
It was off my radar.
It was
I
great.
wanted to go. Now that I heard about it, I wanted to go.
Well, there
I
were
didn't know.
5 other events in Sumner County that day.
Okay.
And so it kind of split the people in a lot of places, but it was really good.
Maybe we can get some more advertising next time and share it with some commission members. Maybe they can advertise on their Facebook pages. We all need to work together more.
Well, I think the sheriff, Craddock, told me that, I said, you might want to try to do it in the spring, and then later in the year, but try to do it in the spring when, there's not a lot of other festivals going on,
Yes,
so that people have somewhere to go and they could anticipate that program. And it was good. It really was. I really enjoyed it.
Good.
Since we're talking about the IT, and, I think a lot of times what happens is we have new faces, and you're a new face, and then new ideas and leadership starts to fall into place. And I'm going to talk about a couple of things this evening, because as you start getting individuals in the right place to have the right skills to do things, it's going to be very important, because as we know, look, we now have a Department of Government Efficiency, which it should be everywhere, in every branch of government, and where our expectations should be the highest standards, and comparable to the private sector, because there's competition, and if you don't do it, you don't survive and you don't thrive. So that mindset hopefully will start becoming prevalent. What I think is great is to have this, and I'll talk later on when we start talking about other things. I'm going to focus on website.
Keep in mind, I'm the chairman before that. If it's something that's going to come up in the discussion later.
Is the website going to come up? Or you're going to talk about IT again?
Well, maybe within the IT,
That's
was something I mentioned in my chairman's report,
Okay.
because I was commending him on that. But if we can find a way for it to come up later in the checklist or in the,
I'll just have to make
or
a
under the 100% spay
Talk about
vaccination
IT.
discussion.
note.
Yes, make a note. And if
I'll
we
talk
want to
about
continue the
that.
conversation,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
I'm also going to continue my chairman's report. No, that's okay. Got to keep in order, because I know some people have to go and may have to cut out early. But I'm so I'm not saying something that's going to be very unpopular, but it's been discussed to me and to a few others of us from not only our chairman of the commission, but other commissioners and the law director, has told me that per our standing rules, this committee cannot do what we tried to do last committee meeting at HEMS, Health and Emergency Services, where we decided to, Commissioner Wright made the motion to extend it for 6 months. It was told that that was an illegal motion because it goes against our standing rules. However, I've come up with a workaround, and I want it. Don't get upset yet. This committee is going to close. I was already going to call it off for December for Christmas just to give us a break, but then this happened, and I was told that it's going to be pulled. And I don't want it to be pulled. I want to close it on a good note. But I've talked with the chairman of Health and Emergency Services, and I would like to ask for Captain McCoy to just submit reports under the sheriff's report, or you can even come yourself if you want to and give reports on that, because we may find that more progress has been made in this than we're aware of, right now, and that's a good thing. But the big milestones that we're all hoping happen, that we've all agreed to happen, need to be followed up on. And I know the citizens are going to watch that. And so I want the citizens to be able to have a voice still, and we're going to put it on the agenda of the Health and Emergency Services Committee. Being that it will be on the agenda, citizens will be allowed to do public comments there. And I'm on that committee too, so we'll still be able to hear your concerns, hear reports of positives and negatives, and have the report back from the Sheriff's Department to be able to know what milestones have been met. That's the only way I can get around it being taken from us. I don't want it just to be killed and forgotten about, because we've done too much good to see it just stop here at the, close to the end of the goal. So I wanted to announce that that's going to happen, and it's not a 5-vote thing. That is just, it's going to dissolve. So
Why does it last so long to dissolve it?
it's not, they're eager to, it was brought up by our chairman of the commission and our law director that it is against our rules to keep it going back. 1 year was October.
But then you can always start another one.
It has to have a different mission in order to start.
Then you can just be trying to
Where are
do something
those?
different. That's
We could possibly look at doing
that's
that.
the workaround.
But until that happens, until we come up with a different mission or mission statement or goal, we're going to continue our current mission statement and finish our milestones that we set to achieve in here, which was 100% spay and neuter and vaccinating animals, and then also giving the implementation of the what we add the budget items to, the $200,000, which is to employ 2 more part-time people, so that we can start a volunteer program and things like that. We want all that to happen. We've all agreed to this. The Sheriff's Department agreed to this. Dr. Pisano laid it all out as best practices. And we're in agreement that we want these things to happen, right? I see positive things coming from Captain McCoy. Things are starting to really move, it seems like. So that is still going to be the focus. Another ad hoc later on would have to take on a different mission statement and have to be a different focus in order to be able to create it, because it's legally not allowed to be the same thing to be continued. It's about government efficiency, and that's kind of what you spoke about. If you just keep an ad hoc going forever, it's not efficient if you don't have goals. And we have goals, but I want to continue under HEMS.
So my question would be under these rules, because, and I'm going to be very, sometimes I have to say things, and it may sting a little, but this was a slow-walked ad hoc committee where we could not get access to information. Months had gone by. I call it running out the clock. And again, everything has a workaround. And so what I find, unfortunately, my opinion for what I see for different things, living here for 23 years, rules, some are enforced, some are not. Some things are cherry-picked. But in the guidelines of an ad hoc committee and of the rules, when you have it inefficiently, and you get, we're gonna wait 30 days to get answers, 30 days, because that's under old leadership, and nothing to do with you, by the way. This is under the old guard, I'll say it just as politely as I can, that when you're waiting 30, 60, 90 days for intelligence in an IT environment or anything like that, or real time, we couldn't have anybody to tell us in real time. If we had individuals who were intimately involved in animal control, we would have had real-time answers. We probably would be much further along than where we are today. And so it's unfortunate and there's frustrations. However, some things have to be considered when there's a development of an ad hoc committee. How can you dissolve something where all the benchmarks are not done? I mean, I operate largely from private sector work, and truthfully, that doesn't happen in the private sector. You meet, you do it, you follow up, you follow through, and then that's why companies either thrive or survive by their ability to be nimble. And unfortunately, and it's frustrating for the citizenry too, and it's something, in my opinion, could be, whether it's intentional, whether it's whatever the case may be, it's still not acceptable. And so standards need to be put in place. So if they have these ad hoc committee rules, then now it's time to look at these rules. Because this particular ad hoc committee went into many roadblocks to not be efficient and effective, and that's
let me speak a little bit to that. So this ad hoc committee is unique in the fact that it's unlike any other in the fact that we are fixed situations that we only have a limited amount of control over because we're dealing with a constitutionally elected office of the Sheriff's Department, which that animal control is under. So we're limited by what we can do, and that's what makes it unique. It was made very clear to us from the beginning from our law director, but also continually by one of our members that works for the Sheriff's Department, that we can't do anything except for make suggestions. That was ad nauseum. That was very frustrating to the public. That was very frustrating to this committee. But the relationship had to grow. Trust had to be made, and it was painstakingly hard to get that. I feel like we're there now with more trust both ways. We have new leadership there that seems to be willing to do more with us. And with this, I did not realize that ad hocs could only exist for 1 year until a month ago. And so we can't do anything except for amend our rules of the commission, and I don't believe we have the votes for that. But I don't want it to be a stumbling block. Sorry?
I always say put things to a vote, because when you do so, then you have to determine, again, the citizens are the ones that really are, our citizen engagement doesn't end.
I understand that, and we can go there. We can revisit that later. But for right now, what I'm saying is it doesn't have to be a stoppage, because we have how am I going to say this nicely? We have an HEMS committee now that is maybe a little more friendly to this committee and are willing to absorb this into what they do. And there was a challenge on whether or not the citizens would be able to speak, on whether or not we'd have to be able to follow up with these and get reports and things like that. And I asked the chairman, and he said he will gladly put it on the agenda, so that that's not a challenge anymore. So that takes care of that issue of giving the citizens a voice and being able to keep on having this discussion just like we're having now. It'll be there though. So I'm not concerned about our milestones not being met. I will not stop reminding everybody that the budget we increased this animal control by was, and I won't be satisfied satisfied until those reasons are met. So we're not giving up with our goals. We're not. We're just having to play by different rules now, which were the rules we didn't know. That's why they're different. They're the same rules. We didn't know them. So, who was first?
She can go on, yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I just had a question, for you, the sheriff's department. It's always been private citizens who have exposed the cruelty of this animal control, and I have a long history with that. But my question is, we keep hearing about, from Lieutenant Matthews how, the sheriff's department, you all have the final say, but even in if there's animal cruelty, I'm not saying there isn't, but I'm saying even the sheriff's department has to abide by the law. If there's animal cruelty in a shelter, any shelter, I mean, why would that be? You sometimes say, why is that?
No, it's provable things.
Well, I'm saying, but why are they so against? And it's not like we're trying to expose anything.
Well, keep in mind, this ad-hoc committee was created to
Improve the conditions.
improve conditions with best practices being implemented. Animal cruelty.
Right. But I'm saying, we kept being told, well, the sheriff's department has final say. Well, I mean, do you have final say if there is animal cruelty? I'm not saying there is, right? There was in the past.
So, if I may?
Yes.
I think your question is, what is different now than was then, and we'll start by saying that we receive animals off the street that are strays that are in pretty rough shape, and it's tough for me to take a photograph of an animal that's been on the has been dumped, probably already mistreated by somebody, misfed or abused in some way, and I take a picture of skin and bones and I put it on Facebook, and that gets us a lot of people looking our way. We had nothing to do with that.
No,
we will turn that animal into as good animals as can be.
That's not what I'm saying, but
we have reduced our numbers.
There have been animals that have died in that shelter.
Yes, ma'am,
because they haven't gotten vet care, and that's there was neglect in the past. I'm not saying now, but I'm just saying, is the sheriff's department not accountable to maybe that's the word, accountable to someone also, because we keep hearing how,
If I can answer that, just because all questions should be addressed here anyway before we start going around the table. And if I don't know the answers, I'll ask for help with that. But this ad-hoc committee and what I've just stated about the health emergency services, the citizens, you said it and you said it, the citizens are holding the elected officials accountable, whether it be me, Ms. Janone, or the sheriff's department. The citizens hold them accountable. So we're still giving an avenue for that with health emergency services. We didn't have that before. About an issue about the closure of the animal control because of conditions, because of the circulation of the air quality, and was causing issues, and they got that fixed. But citizens brought the concern up. That's still going to be there. There is no oversight other than the citizens for the animal control. So when you say, who's holding them accountable, basically is what you're asking, the citizens, and that's not going to change. That's always going to be the thing. The citizens got to, they will be the ones usually that are more aware, and it was proven this time, more aware with the best practices, procedures, things that are going on in the private sector that we're not doing here, that we hadn't been doing for years. And it was a we don't know what we don't know situation, and we proved that things could be better. And it was hard to get them to comply because of trust issues, but we've gotten past that now, and everybody's agreeing on it now. Yes, Mr.
I have a suggestion. Since we have standing rules and it do years up, and like you, I found out and I was pretty ticked off. But what I would like to ask is, in respect to, you so important to the community and to the, collaboration, I guess, of the community and the people involved. I mean, I know we have health and emergency services, okay, but would it be approachable to the sheriff to continue a community-based, friendly committee with the citizens involved, the sheriffs involved, in the same thing we're doing, but under the purview of the sheriff's department, so that he doesn't have to follow a year rule like we do?
So what I was gonna suggest in my closing of the chairman quote was, I think the Friends of Sumner County is a great idea, but that's not something that we can run as a commission or as Ad-Hoc. I would encourage, the citizenry, somebody to step up, start with a Facebook page, start with something, and the people that come here faithfully every, month could be chatting on there about things that are going on, but I would like to ask Captain McCoy, would you be open to continue some kind of relationship with a friends group that would help you with the extras that, like you commented on with Paws and Pumpkins and then to where extras or extra care or new suggestions could be had with this group, because I believe it'd be very important with the intended goal of having volunteers come to help out. They got to come from somewhere. It needs to be an organized effort. I think there's probably some really good volunteers that would probably want to come, but they need to be part of a group that comes to you. Would you commit to the citizens tonight that you'd be interested in a friends group?
I will tell you now that regardless of how this goes, I'm not opposed to that 100%. I think that one of our part-time people that we've been given that position for will be tasked with that volunteer coordinator position. I pray that in the future that the commission sees that is a viable position and makes it full-time. And then we continue to expand upon that. But regardless of how this works out, I want everybody to know that my phone is always on, my office door is always open, and if there's a concern, it doesn't have to go through a committee. You come see Carl, and I hate to be that blunt, but if there's an issue, we will go and look at it together. And if it's something that I don't see that a subject matter expert like yourself may know, then absolutely, I will take that advice and we'll work together to get a solution. But I am not opposed to having something in the future, Friends of the Animal Shelter. Some of the budget money to give us, I hope we get to change the sign to say Animal Services. I do not like the word control on the front of my building. I do not. It implies that I'm there to control population, and that's not. It has a bad connotation, and I want to open that shelter. I want people to come in and smell the difference in the shelter now. So absolutely not. I think once we get our volunteer organization in place and that coordinator in place, it may be me, it may be, maybe we have our vet come one evening and talk with you folks and maybe answer questions that are beyond my scope or understanding.
Well, I trust that you're being very sincere with that.
Absolutely.
This is a totally different feeling than what we've had from the very beginning of this Ad-Hoc until last month.
We made more progress than you've been here the whole year.
It seems like you genuinely care, and maybe that is the key, getting the volunteer group engaged, just as Mr. Smith volunteered his electrical services.
Right.
Maybe there's a sign person out there that can hook you up and figure out how to get that done.
I'll figure it out myself. We'll print it.
But no, I mean, I really want the citizens to know that they're not being cut off. We just have to redirect and start really focusing in on the new direction they're taking, and with the with the part-time positions, hopefully this can keep evolving. And I want everybody to look back and say it was because citizens spoke up and this committee was formed and that knowledge was gained, that all this started happening, because this really was driven by the citizens. So, with that, I'll conclude my report. I do want to go on and finish our checklist. If there's been any improvement since last month, if you could keep it brief and just hit the highlights, because you kind of know the big milestones we're looking for. That's the ones we really want to talk about, the part-time people and the
Absolutely. So it may scoot around the checklist because I do have information that I want to convey to the commission and to the committee. Do you have to suspend anything for me to speak?
No. You're here and you're part of this committee now.
Okay.
It's a loose committee anyway. You're kind of taking the place of Joe Matthews, Lieutenant Matthews. So I think as we're kind of narrowing this down, I think we're okay.
So to report on additional monies that were given to the animal services line by the commission this year, of that $140,000, we were going to earmark $70,000 for 2 part-time positions. The additional 70 was going to go to additional vet care.
Yes.
So we have everything that comes into the shelter is being vaccinated for what our techs can vaccinate for, and we went through that last. That's kennel cough. That's a few other things. Rabies is veterinarian only, so we've got a relief veterinarian that we signed contract with. Right now, the contract is at legal. She was with us this week and actually saw a few. We had a cat that was not feeling well, had some respiratory issues going on, and she jumped right in. I was really impressed with the way she took it. Her name is Amanda Sackerly. She can practice in Tennessee, Kentucky, and the state of Texas. Does everything from pets to livestock. And we don't see a lot of livestock, but it's good to know that we've got a vet that can help that.
Is she already doing it, or is she getting ready to?
Right now, her contract is with our county legal, and there are some fees that are associated with that, and those are pretty standard amongst veterinarians that I've spoken to. We are prepared to give an offer to one applicant that is a part-time that has just absolutely done amazing.
Hold on a second.
Yep. Yes, sir.
You got her, or
you
got a contract with legal?
We have a contract that is being reviewed by legal now. If legal says good to go, she's asking me when to start exactly.
So it's happening.
Relief vet. So it would be in a veterinarians. They work off of a private contractor. It's per day, 8-hour day. She does everything from she can even do surgery. If the day ever comes that we need to do in-house surgeries, she can do them. That mask that was on the dog you spoke of, in-house personnel on that relief vet if we had the equipment in medical to do just that.
So she's doing the rabies shots too?
She will do rabies. Between her and Dr. Miller, we'll have 2 vets. Dr. Miller's there every week.
Are you going to kind of classify him the same way, kind of relief vet, travels as needed type thing?
So Dr. Miller is on a schedule, so he's there weekly.
But it's not like every Monday.
It has been every Monday.
When it's come to us, it's as needed. That's how it's told us.
Right. He is moving to like Thursdays now, but the animals aren't going. I think we can do better than 7 days without seeing a vet if they need it. Yeah. And that's what the relief vets. I want to have 2 relief vets on contract, and again, call them as needed. One of them's out on vacation, then we schedule the other one. We have to do it in advance because these relief vets are usually traveling vets, and they've got clinics. Some of them do spay-neuter surgeries all day long. Some of them go to a veterinarian is out, and these relief vets take care of their practices while they're on vacations. There are a lot of things. So I have to do some scheduling a little bit in advance, but I still think that's very attainable.
So relief vets, we have one under contract. We want one more, and that's within the budget. And then we have would you classify Dr. Miller as?
Dr. Miller now, I would say if we have a staff veterinarian, he would be our staff veterinarian. He's not full-time but he is the guy that's been there the longest. And some of the animals he's taking back to his practice in order to provide care for. The relief vet, if we set the medical side of our animal services division up and can get that back to operational, we've had our sheriff's office maintenance crew in there doing some work, so it looks a lot better than it did. If we can make that a medical suite again, then I think the relief vet can do a lot there.
Okay.
Certainly as far as rabies and vaccinations and checkups and such.
And so the relief vet will come, as needed? They on call?
It would be, no, I wouldn't say on call. because there's a travel fee that we pay to get the vet here. That's normal practice, I think, amongst the vets. We would schedule them in advance. They would be there that day. Of course, we can't predict what's there that day, but if we know that an animal's been seen by Dr. Miller on Thursday and the relief vet comes on Tuesday, then that animal's not having to go 7 days without seeing a different vet.
You get the third or the second relief vet, it'll turn into one more day. They'll just pick and schedule it out.
Until those funds are gone, yeah, we've got to manage those funds, but the relief vets are not inexpensive, and they're highly.
But you have this line item to where when that bucket of money is used up for relief vets, that's the relief vets, so you'll budget that out.
I think it was and don't quote me on this, I think it was veterinary services and maybe supplies. So I don't know that our vaccinations, if they come out of that, we can't run that bucket dry.
Is Dr. Miller still charging retail prices in the vaccine? Do we know what we're paying?
I did not. I don't have that in front of me. I apologize.
Yeah, that was part of the problem because he was charging, he buy the vaccines for $5 and he was charging for the vaccines $9.
Can you check on that?
I can't.
That may help you guys make the money last a little longer. Okay. So
Okay.
the volunteers, you said you have one yet? I mean, not the volunteers, the part-time.
We do have somebody that we're very, very interested in. The thing is, and I don't want to drag the feet because applications are going to continue to come. They were really slow in the beginning. Right after Falls to Pumpkins, I had 15 of them issued in that weekend alone. So we worked through those. Some of them were naturally disqualified because they're going to be around inmate workers. The trustees do an amazing job with their animals, but there's also some vetting that has to happen for people to be around incarcerated folks. And so some of those were disqualified for that part-time position. We have moved on and done some interviews. I still have applications in the inbox that have not been processed, but I want to go ahead and move and at least hire one. Some people would say, wait till you see everybody's application before you pick.
No, you can.
I think we need to get somebody on.
I think you need to get somebody too, and you can find ways to change that person out if needed, if there's somebody more qualified comes along. But this is kind of like a what came first, the chicken or the egg type thing. If the volunteers, if the inmates are causing issues, with hiring because of the conditions that the hiree has to meet. There's great quality people out there that are wonderful people that have learned their lesson from doing a stint in jail or having a bad background that are going to be disqualified because there's inmates at their job place, and that creates a problem. I mean, and I know you can't stop doing the inmates to get these people on, but after you get these people on, can you possibly look at changing protocol by if the volunteer program works out and you don't need the inmates anymore, changing policies to where you're not so strict with who you can hire. Like that. Yeah. I want to answer first.
I think the probably answer to that is if we had a good pool of volunteers to pull from, then we say Saturdays no inmates, and now anybody can come and or have a couple of days. I don't.
Problem,
sir.
The employees is the problem. You have to fully vet your employees stricter than regular people vet because they're working with inmates.
Well, I think the vetting is not just solely, there are some things that aren't going to go away, like CJIS computers, the criminal justice information systems. I mean, those computers are in that facility and would have to be.
You talked about isolating those last month.
They're on laptops, and I think they could be just, we would tell, there's dual authentication, we've got all that. I mean, you can't log in without having to get a message sent to your phone or a fob. So I think we're meeting that, but some of those issues aren't going to go away. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna answer some stuff that you probably used to say what I need to say about this topic. I'm gonna do my best. You have to understand, I do a lot of research myself because that's my bag.
Yeah.
Pharmaceutical, I was beholden by the FDA. heavily regulated environment. So before I say anything, I try to get all my ducks around. I think you know me a little bit better now, and so I gave you quite a bit of
Yeah, you did, a lot of room.
I also spoke with Cameron for quite a length of time about best practices. They don't believe that inmates are a best practice. They work with what you have, but their encouragement is to replace them with volunteers across the board. And there's reasons for that. But I am going to have to say certain things, and it's very good to have these kinds of discussions because you may not know, the public doesn't know. At the end of the day, our homes get leveraged to finance everything. And so it's really, at the end of the day, the public's going to be the one that gets to decide because of elections and whatnot, and the public gets to speak. So it's a great thing that there's public engagement because we have skill sets that maybe can help. And you said, if there's a problem, I encourage people to come with a solution.
That's right.
So we have all these wonderful protocols, and I had asked for one, which was very, and I hate to say it's the elephant in the room, and everything's worked around these inmates, which to me, I'm going to tell about 20 reasons why this portion, you guys do great. The field area, you pick up the animals, and then TO, once the intake, that should be a standalone department, void of inmates. It'll save a ton of money, too, in the process. People say they're free. They are not free. They're extremely expensive, extremely high risk. And here's a few things that, and I have to say that this was a bit troubling to me because I asked the use of inmates specific to animal control, where are the written protocols? They don't have any policy at all. But my expectation would have been a very laundry list and very specific about what inmates are qualified. But all the research I've done with inmate programs, it's converse. It's the animals go to a facility, and those programs are done at the prison location. And there's very good reasons for that to happen because of the amount of risk absorbed. So I would have expected heavy scrutiny of the inmates. Only inmates that do X, Y, Z would be applied. This is how you transport them. I would have expected probably about 10 pages of requirements, protocols, restrictions, especially because it's affiliated with law enforcement. So that to me was the biggest shock that I could imagine. And, and you're new, so it's unfortunate, but that does not exist. And that to me is beyond unacceptable because what's the most important things that happen with inmates? Now, I went to the facility. Tarlaki's a great guy. You got Rebecca. She was wonderful. I met them. It's a great team. And then you got the inmates. And when I was there was no oversight by a deputy. Why are we paying $80,000 for a babysitter? That's basically what it is. Now, when I talked to Cameron, too, it's not a best practice, and there are a number of reasons as to why inmates are not conducive to have. You can't achieve best practices if you cannot get your model in line with all the other models that are in this area. Okay, so animal control should be a standalone department. Inmates are not free. Inmates create a law enforcement model that hinders best practice goals and outcomes. And here's why. You have worries about escape. Inmates may try to escape, especially high-risk ones. They may bring small objects to pick handcuffs and try to assault or kill officers or bystanders. Suicide. Inmates may try to commit suicide during transport. Illness. Inmates may fall ill during transport, and some may even die before officers notice. Chaos. Inmates who don't intend to escape may still cause chaos. Lockdowns happen, and then no one can care for the animals. Inmates get ill, and then no one can care for the animals. During COVID, no one was allowed to get out. If there's an outbreak in the prison system, no one's permitted to get out. This was imparted to me, too, which was troubling. Inmate boyfriends can pretend to be adopters and have had sex with inmates in dog pen areas. Not necessarily here, per se, but we really don't know, because when I went, there was not heavily, again, it's a very expensive babysitter for inmates that are not free. It limits the pool of people who could do the work because you're running the same background checks as if the work is done for a sheriff's department or law enforcement test, which obviously They go and have interviews. I know people in law enforcement. I know one of my friends who did the hiring practice, extremely stringent. We have to jump through hoops for a handful of inmates, spend a lot of money, and have all of these negatives, just more, a ton of negatives, as the list goes on. The high cost of deputies to babysit inmates. They're not always there to oversee, I can attest to this. There are also more costs. Your van costs money. The gas costs money. The time, the miles. I've done time and motion studies in the healthcare system with delivery systems of drugs. You can show and say, this is why this modality is better than the other. But I'm just going to, and I don't know all those particular costs, but if I start calculating, these are hugely expensive. High risk during transport, contraband capabilities, the risk of abusing animals. Again, no protocols in place, so it should be very troubling. There's barriers to adoption. The doors are always locked. You have to get beeped in. You know, we have these outdoor pause things, and that's great, but that's a one-day thing. But every day of the week, if there's inmates there, you can't come without getting beeped in, without presenting your identification. The public and the animals are almost treated as if they're prisons because it's treated like a law enforcement model, which does not pertain in this portion of animal care, animal service, right? And other areas are like that. Nashville, it's not. They have, this is how it works. Animal control director reports to the mayor because, according to law, animal control is under the purview of the legislature. However, at some point in time, couldn't even get access to the resolution that was signed. It was bequeathed over. So if I'm going to work within this, and it's the sheriff's department, then that sheriff basically, or you, probably best you, would be the one that the animal control director is reporting to. Animal control directors have all of these types of business capabilities, whatever. They're the ones that are running like a private sector entity. So the phraseology is that animal control, that portion, not the field ops, not getting the animals, once they're brought to a facility, I call it TO, turning over, that should be like as if you were looking at a standalone department, run more like a private sector than law enforcement. Because it's a law enforcement mentality because of inmates. You remove the inmates, that goes away. You have a plethora of people to hire. Because, again, it's not a deputy that you're hiring or somebody that has to have that criterion of law enforcement to do volunteer work to help animals. Doors are always locked. You can't bring a family, so it's not touchy-feely. The public can't be present when inmates are present. That hinders adoption opportunities. You lose opportunities to adopt and keep animals from being in the shelter because, again, our goal is to prevent the intakes to begin with or get them in and get them out quick. And how do we achieve that? If the model, and it's like we have this model, it's been like this for years, it's very hard to get to your best practice goals when the model isn't accurate or what the rest of areas are doing as best practice. Having inmates is not part of the best practice protocol, just so everybody's clear about that. You can't adopt animals quickly. So inmate transportation poses unique security challenges. It's not easy for all you all to transport them. That's risks you don't need to take on. And aside from that, too, I'm going to give there's like 100 reasons to do that because you can replace, I think there was 5, 6 inmates when I went. You have 5 or 6 volunteers, $25, $30 an hour maybe, you'd still come up way ahead. Because if you're minusing out deputy salaries to oversee them, transport them, now you got on 80s, 160,000. That's a lot of money for volunteers. So this is just very intuitive, and plus there's nothing implied here. So I'm going to give you this information. I'm going to give you this information too that I've gathered. There's something else also that we have to be very mindful of in an environment of, where people are actually looking into how people are treated and what is, humane all around. So we're going to look at that as well. U.S. prison labor programs violate the fundamental human rights, a new report finds. I think I gave that to you as well. In June of 16th of 2022. I don't know if that's happening here, but this is just in general. We have to get out of the practice of putting inmates into these environments, which does not allow the public to do something which they need to do, which is to adopt the animals, and that we can get them in, get them out. We don't have to kill them because the inn is full and we're making way. But to me, it is really very much a no-brainer that the inmates are far more risk, far more impediment than they are a benefit. And under the guise of free, that's not true. It is way the opposite. In my research, my gathering of the data, being able to formulate that, I guarantee you, and I'm hopefully you're the person in position to do that, that you view this portion very much like law enforcement, this as a standalone. It'll open up way many doors. You won't need all of that law enforcement stuff in there because you don't have inmates in there, and because you don't have any law enforcement needs because you don't have inmates. You run it like this. And then you can have deputies babysitting inmates. They got great skill sets. They could be doing far better beneficial work over here than over here. So the reasons to believe have been outlined. And then I will say quantify. And that's very quantifiable, some of the things I just said. And because, again, I'm not even factoring cost of van, gas, time, all of those things, and huge, huge risks, which is not necessary. Because you have like the whole swatch of population that you could pull from that love animals, that would want to make extra money, and they'd sail through easily because they're not under these stringent guides and the lens of a law enforcement model. So hopefully, what I've said will open up a ton of doors to programs, all the other things that you can do that Cameron even had mentioned. Once that is alleviated, you will probably overexceed expectations, not only meet your objectives of best practice, but overexceed them. So that's one thing. The other thing would be websites. Those are my two wishes. If I could achieve anything, is to get a better model, one that's done. And then you can even talk to other people. I've talked to people in different animal control, and how did you do this? How did you do that? And they're so giving of their intelligence. Michael, I think I told you, he was beautiful. They call me and they give me their time, and they don't have a lot of time to give, but they did because they're trying to help another county get better, you know. So that is, those are the things I'm going to leave behind for you. And then when we get to talk about what happens, that's what I'll talk about.
Okay.
I'll play the 5-minute mark.
Yeah, you did 13.
Oh, right, okay. Well, there's a lot to say.
That's okay. No, that was good stuff, and I wish we had talked about this several months ago to give him time to respond to this. And I will say, I know he wasn't here, and I'm sure he would have responded to this. So I won't speak first and give him a chance to respond to that. To your points, you made a lot of really good cases, and I guarantee you can say the reason why we do this is because of this, and don't worry about that. That's not happening because we do this. Those are the types of things that Mr. Supple has been frustrated with, because that would be policy, showing how it works, or the preventions that you take to make sure this doesn't happen. That's the guide rails and stuff that you have for. And to hear that you don't have one makes me think that when this was given to the Sheriff's Department years ago, the Sheriff's Department pooled their people and their resources and said, how can we make this work with what we have? And they made it work with what they had. And they ran it like they knew how to run it, like a Sheriff's Department, like animal control, people control, because you're in charge of, you know, like a jail and things like that. And you worked with what you had, and you made the best with what you had. But since then, we've learned new practices and procedures, and you laid out a good case as to why this may not be the most efficient way to do it, but it's efficient with within the world that they know. And so I hope you do consider some of these things, and maybe as this is evolving with the new positions, you can consider some of these things and possibly get away from the inmates, because it really would open up a whole new world of what you can do. You're always going to have to work with the sheriff's department, with the field work that you guys have to do, and the calls that you may have to make or whatever, but the day-to-day operations, I think we could be more efficient for the taxpayers if we ran it without high-paid employees that have a totally different skill set doing something that frankly is not really in their wheelhouse. Just because they can doesn't mean they should, because there's a lot of people with big hearts out there that would want to do these jobs and may not even cost as much to do. You may be able to take advantage of that. So I would encourage you to please look over her data, and maybe this can evolve with time. But I do want to give you time to speak to some of the things you said. If you want to, if you want to move on and keep going through the list, that's fine.
You don't want to stay here all night. Some of the stuff that she mentioned there, I will tell you that there are trustees that go out and they mow in parks. There are trustees that go out and pick up trash on the side of the road. There are trustees that go out in the summertime and paint schoolhouses. They're not in the building with the students, but I will tell you that the idea of you coming to our animal shelter to try to find a pet with a family member or child, that guardrail is not there. They are trustee status. There is vetting that happens, but it happens on the jail side of the house. They're not hardened criminals. They're incarcerated, and incarcerated people are capable of anything. So I won't discount everything that you mentioned there, and I'm happy to look through that. Understand that there's a little difference between a prison system and a county jail. And the prison system, these are condemned people. County jail folks might be just waiting, or they may be paying a debt to society on a matter of child support or something that is monetary. They're not hardened. So I will be happy to read this. I haven't finished with the first package you gave me, but I'm working toward it. But I will certainly have it. Yes, ma'am.
Because you said we can engage outside.
Yeah. But I did want to go over some numbers. So I have pulled records at the animal shelter starting September 1. The reason I did that, I did want to capture that Paws and Pumpkin event that we did, which was in September. So over that time period, again, September 1st to the present, we had, these are animals in, 71 cats, 118 dogs that came into our possession.
September 1 was Paws and Pumpkins?
No, I'm just saying I moved it before September to catch that October date.
Gotcha.
The way I didn't know when we met before, and I don't know when the last time you had a statistic, so I wanted to take it back to the beginning of September. So if you do the math on that, 71 cats, 118 dogs, I think it's 189 animals in total. We had, for reclaimed, these are dogs that got picked up, so cats that were picked up, had a collar on them, had a chip on them. We were able to scan, we were able to make as far as reclaimed or reunifications of that 2 cats, and 40 of those dogs were reclaimed by their owners. So those are pretty good. We were once questioned, are you doing your part to try to get these animals back home? Well, some of that could be as easy as talking to the garbage man in the neighborhood that the dog is picked up from. He knows, the garbage man knows what dog was where, for sure.
Yeah, is it a lot of it on the front end?
So, they are. Officers now, middle of the day, sometimes you don't catch folks there, but maybe you do get somebody out mowing their grass, or you do catch a postman or somebody that they can say, hey, I've got a dog, pick the dog up, here's a picture of it, it's in the back of my van, do you know where this thing belongs? And so, those reclaims happen. We're not going to just take a dog and put it back in the fenced yard. Obviously, it got out somehow, maybe there's a hole. We would now know who to contact, and those owners do come forward and pick their animals.
So you take them and write down an address or information and contact them after the fact?
Yeah.
They got a wire.
If they don't have a collar, don't have a name on them, I mean, my dogs have my name and number on it. They don't have a chip, and sometimes chips can be tricky to try to trace down. There's a couple manufacturers, but that kind of lends to that reunification is through knowing where they came from, knowing that they've got a chip or they've got a collar on that may have information, a rabies tag that we can contact the vet that gives you the rabies vaccination. Adoptions, we had in that time span, September 1st present, 37 cats and 53 dogs. So those are pretty decent adoption numbers. And I'm excited. I think probably greatly in part because of the Facebook coming back online like the way it did and getting those pictures back out. I think a good bit of that had to do with the Paws and Pumpkins. We are going and we've had 2 morning news spots with local news, and that dog never lasts more than a day before he's adopted. The Jughead was the most popular thing at the Paws to Pumpkins, and so absolutely. Transferred out, these are going to rescues, breed specific rescues, transferring out of our care into somebody that may be better suited to care for the elderly dog or the collie dog or the barn cat or whatever. 7 cats, 10 dogs that we moved, and I look at that as good as an adoption in my opinion because we moved that animal, that TO that you speak of. We're turning those animals out, turning them around, and then we had 4 returned from adoption. That was a cat and 3 dogs. They just get home, it wasn't a good fit, or the cat was snippy or bitey, or that doesn't get along with them. So that's going to happen. You're going to have returns, if you will. So we had, of all of those adoptions, we did have 3 dogs and a cat that was returned. So the numbers aren't bad. We did have a couple animals that came in that were just in bad shape. We posted a picture of a deceased dog on her because we knew it was somebody's dog and was hit by a car. And there was nothing we could do to save that dog, but we did want to give the owner some closure and to come in and claim the dog if that's what they wanted to do. So there are times that animals are going to pass in our care, and it's just because they've sustained injuries or they're too far gone. And that's why I think we get a vet there twice. If the animal, twice a week, if the animal looks like it needs urgent care, we take it straight to urgent care, regardless of day or night. Closest one is in Hendersonville that we use. So those are some stats that we've had come through the shelter since September 1st, and I'm pretty proud of them. There were some euthanasias. I don't mind sharing those if you want to hear them, but they're not astronomical. And those could be anything from vicious animals to animals that probably weren't going to make it, to a vet says, maybe we can nurse it back, but it's going to be very therapeutic, very long in duration, and it's going to be quite costly.
I did hear something. I would like to know the number of euthanasias. Somebody asked me about it, that there was a high number that they thought for cats.
9 cats.
9?
9. 26 dogs.
Okay.
I don't think that's high. I mean,
no, I've heard different numbers.
Those were a report that I pulled this afternoon, after business, in fact, because I wanted to capture. We had a cat adoption going right at the end of the business day, and I wanted to make sure that they were able to spend the time with that and then get these numbers.
It's interesting. Numbers are a funny thing. I just went the whole roundabout thing where people said all these numbers, but they're not anchored into anything or relative to anything. And I think what's hugely helpful is that the numbers are associated with X.
Yep.
So I could say 26 dogs. I think that's a lot, in my opinion. But I won't think it's a lot if you said 13 came in and they were diseased beyond repair, and they were suffering, and the rest of them were vicious and unadoptable because they'll hurt someone's child. Then that puts things into perspective. You see, so to me, the details matter, and the devil sadly is always in the detail. And I think this is what, I'm going to do the 2 very focal things. I'm trying to focus on 2 key things. Is infrastructure, how models are designed that sets you up for success, and how you have an IT capabilities, and you have the ability to brag about your success. Baseline's always interesting. Now, we started way out here, and look at, I came, because that's your benchmark of success in your job. And then, they should have merit-based, I'm sorry, but we should have, very similar privatization things, because some people just keep getting raises and they don't necessarily deserve it.
So what would you like to see? Just
I would
to
love
keep
the
it concise,
website.
would you like to see a starting point
Yeah,
where we're at now, monthly, or give
So,
them a suggestion,
Well,
think
that's for
back
you
and
guys
look at it.
too, because you're going to be looking at reporting, and reporting is very important.
I'm just trying to keep it concise, though. Give him something to work on,
It is
to
going
look
to
at.
be pie charts, the graphs, the data that says diseased animals. It could be in colors, so that you can determine by your graphs what is what, and they're defined.
You don't
rather
see a
than
month-to-month change.
So you can see the change.
So like, for instance, you know how they do, call reports on the ECC or, sheriff, I think, no, it's ambulance.
I'm with the ECC committee, so I've seen what you, I think it,
Something like that just kind of gives an overall of, how many animals were this and how many cats were that and.
here's our partners staying there or something along those lines.
Yeah, just see.
A metric that we can like look at month to month.
You're a visual person, huh?
Numbers
I'm not a number guy.
numbers don't really mean anything. Pictures are easier to digest and the
Well,
variables.
if it remains consistent, then we can truly track whether month to month things are improving or look what happened after the, 2 part-time people were hired. Things got better or, we can track that. So I think that's what you're basically driving towards.
If you have a, let's say with inmates, if you remove the inmates, now you can say, look at this. Look at all these programs.
Listen,
Look at,
we talk about it all night, but
Yeah.
if we give him something to work on, that's something you can look at, and maybe we
That's what I'm
bring it in AGMS and
These,
make that part of the.
this graph is not mine, this is spay or neuter, which brings me to the next point. But we have people that know this and understand this, and it's a matter of converting numbers to lines or boxes or
How hard
pies.
would it be to include in the AGMS report, could the sheriff bring that as the, just attached to the paperwork that they provide?
Let me see what, if you'll give me time to work with it, I promise you I'll put some time on it and just see, I think an exact, if you want, if somebody says, okay, you had 14 diseased animals, what was their affliction? I think now we're starting to get into the weeds a little bit.
Can I say something? For people who have never worked in a shelter or animal control, the reality, and I'm going to stand up for you on this, the reality, euthanasia is part of it. And you can't sit here, and what I fear is that the sheriff's department's going to, well, we're going to kind of not say the numbers, we really euthanize. Because it doesn't matter if it's disease or it's sick. Adoptions are slow right now. That for me is bad. I have the luxury. I'm a no foster. We try to find fosters. I'm not the animal control. So you have a choice that you can. Hey, we didn't euthanize it, but guess what? You just died on the street because we don't have space for it. So don't put that burden on.
So would you rather see the adoptions as a chart, not the?
All of them.
I mean, all of them. But again, when you do that, the public is going to come after them just as, because they don't know that, why are the euthanasia so high? Well, part of it is because people are so irresponsible. They do need to see that. But I don't want the sheriff's department to get into this, well, let's not, let's not really say how many we euthanize.
I don't want the crosstalk at that, let's keep it coming to the chair, just so we're efficient. So, what I'm gonna try to get to the point is, would you suggest something other if the public or if, the commission's committee, the Health and Emergency Service Committee wanted to track improvements, would you suggest any kind of graphing and what would it be or no?
Well, I mean, again, I don't think we need to say, well, this is euthanized because of disease.
No.
Here's the euthanasia. And there shouldn't be an excuse. I mean, they're turned in because of people's irresponsibility.
So we're looking at sheer month-to-month numbers.
Right.
Okay, so let me just, I'm going to play Joe Public for a second. If I hear a number 26 got euthanized, is it euthanized because of overcrowding and we can't have them because we don't have enough programs to do the adoption because we have some barriers to these things? That's the line of reasoning I'm trying to say. If you say because of disease, then people understand, oh, they're sick animals. We understand that animals need to be euthanized because they're sick. But if we're dealing with overcrowding, and sometimes overcrowding could be a root cause because we can't do certain things. Oh, we can't hire these people, we can't do this, we can't. And there's one variable in play that's prohibiting the advancement of more adoptions, then overcrowding cannot be the reason to euthanize.
Okay, so I'll only cut the chase here. The point is, we want to see numbers and we want to see a comparison. So I'm going to ask if you could maybe just give us the raw numbers of euthanizations and adoptions each month. We track whether that's going up or down. The citizens, again, this is going to be citizen-driven. The citizens are going to ask why. The citizens are going to ask the questions. They're going to ask directly to you. You can give them the answers. But on top of all of that, when you give the reports or when you send information to the committees, from here on out, I would really encourage you guys to make a statement. We need help with this. Adoptions are really down. We're putting out Facebook posts and things like that, and nobody's adopting, guys. It's the economy. It's this, it's that. We're having a real issue. So-and-so started selling dogs because a store opened up in town or whatever. Tell us some things like that so that the commission and the public can put things on their page and help you guys with these things. So in the nature of keeping our relationship going, since we've worked so hard for this relationship, be transparent about what you need and ask those questions in committee so that the public, everybody in the public, right, can chime in and start giving you help. If the adoptions are down, we need to tell everybody adoptions are down. I'll put it on my Facebook page and share it. You know, they say the adoptions are down. Where's our people? You know, we need help. Stop going and buying animals. Come there and adopt. So could I just ask you to do that?
And can I ask you in return, I present something, if you want it tailored differently, then we have open communication and try to get this.
Yep.
And then if we can get a model in which you're used to looking at and the people are used to digesting, and those numbers don't change and the color for this doesn't change then I think it becomes uniform. I think people can understand that at a glance a little quicker. It may not be everything that we want right from the rip, but if you give me the opportunity to work together and to fashion this into something that is digestible for you folks, I will do my part.
Because the data's going to help you identify that there's a hole somewhere or something that needs fixing. Data also can show you problem solutions and opportunities. And this is what I'm saying. If you do all things in a best practice world and environment, your numbers are always going to be really great. If you don't have a website that's, because again, prioritizing, you're talking about the website, that's another missing piece of a fundamental thing that is in need. If you have a great website, and I use an example, which was Williamson County, you have Mahari, Kathy, those websites, you can even have your guy build them in a best practice and look at them as an idea and an ideal. This is our adopter of the week. You know, how many times are you going to be able to use the television? They're not always, but if you can, great. But a Facebook form isn't going to always cut it. But if you said we have Pet Finder, Facebook, and we've got our own unique standalone website where we feature one of them, or these are things we need help. Hey, how about a volunteer day? You know, the committee will do these things, but they won't know it if it doesn't exist. So that's what I'm saying. You have IT, you now have the capabilities, you've got a lot of funding now too. It's being able to happen. So now let's see if we can get that website done. And there's a couple of great models, and I'll share them with you. And then let's see what your person can do. And I guarantee you'll start seeing these adoption upticks because of this, and then look what, because of this, what changed. Yeah.
There is a website that shows, that spot was euthanized. That put the blame where it belongs with the public. Spot was euthanized because they didn't have time for them, so they turned them in. You know, not, well, that we euthanized for disease. Let's start putting the blame back on the public.
So I'm going to get us back on track here, guys. We're going to watch our time. We're running out of time, and we're not even I want to give him time to speak to these things. This is the last meeting we're going to have for a while until we pick it back up at H2S. So the thing we need to recognize is that we all recognize that the public's driven this, and hopefully the sheriff's department has realized by now that the public has more information than they have through Dr. Pisano, best practices. Some people thought things could be better, and they brought it to them. So we reciprocate that, and we send it back out to the public and let them analyze and let them come back with things. We've got to just keep the communications open and talk more. So the more information you can give out, the more you're going to learn and get assistance with, and that's all we're asking for. But we just keep on moving and take that home. And
I mean, let's work together. I think we can get there. I got an idea of what we need to do. Last thing I want to really say is our relationship with spay and neuter.
So we're moving.
Is that on your?
Yes.
That relationship has come to fruition. We are back to taking animals to there. 9 that I know of that have been spayed or neutered. And
When did it start back up?
we started, it was shortly there, because in fact, I think our meeting with them was the day after the last time we met. And so we met, and everybody put their egos in the closet, and we sat down at the table, and we come to the agreement that most all the folks that were involved that created problem in the past are no longer in that place, and that, I'm coming to you with I have my hand with open heart and mind, and she let us bring animals that week. So we were able to, she knew that our Paws the Pumpkin was coming up, and we were able to have animals that were freshly spayed or neutered for that, and we were able to waive adoption fees. State law says I have to charge you $25, refundable if it gets fixed during that time, but law says I have to charge $25, and I'm able to waive those fees. I don't want to take money for somebody to take a forever dog, a cat home.
So because they were spayed and neutered, you can waive them.
We can waiver those fees if they're spayed or neutered.
So what is the percentage that would you say for spayed and neutered?
No, we're not at 100. We're not close to 100. And that is my attainable goal.
Is there a path to there that we're going to see anytime soon? And is it done with Sarah?
We'll have to use Sarah initially, and I think that she is a great resource.
No, could she handle if you were to bring her everything?
With her current load, I don't know. She is that is a well-oiled machine over there. My hat is off to her and her organization. I've never seen anything like that in my life.
Okay, what's the holdup for the 100%? What do you need?
We don't know what comes in from week to week. We may have 50 in a 2-week period, and they have to stay with us for at least 3 days. Previous sheriff said he wanted to let people to have 5 days. I don't want to neuter somebody's prize coonhound, because it got out while they're on vacation. And so, that's where we are.
You said a few appointments aside each week.
She is doing very well. She had a couple cancellations, and we had a hiccup on our side, and my head's back in my hand. My directive now is that we have a couple animals that we know are going to go next, that we're going to get the next appointments for. We're going to move their feeding till later in the morning. So rather than getting fed at 7 o'clock, vets don't want to mess with them. They got a full belly on a surgical procedure. So we're going to feed those animals close to 9:30, 10 o'clock. That way we know if she's had cancellations and there's a spot with a vet that's, doing surgeries at that scale.
So which animals are getting spayed and neutered, and which ones are...
How do we pick them?
Yeah, which ones are going out unspayed and neutered?
So we are still, if somebody comes and wants an animal, we're not going to stand in the way because of that. Now, we do have to charge the fee. We do make it refundable if they're able to take it to their personal vet and have it spayed or neutered. But I think my goal is 100%. And with Sarah's help, we can maybe get there. I think if we have a vet that says, I'll do surgeries for you guys in your suite once a month if you want.
Are you tracking those receipts that are coming back?
We're not getting a lot back. Do I have an exact figure? No, sir, but we're not.
Up the fee to where you make them come back. A more expensive fee would draw people to come back $25, so that's almost not worth the gas to drive all the way back down there.
So we're not worth going and getting a $100, $200 spay. What would retail on one of those? So.
A lot.
Yeah.
So how are you going to get there? So
how do you track who's going to get fed?
Well, we've done it in the form of vouchers in the past, and if they take their money, we receipt their money. It comes in, and then we have to issue the check back. So we would know who comes and goes. But
I call them anyway to say, hey, did you get your pet fixed?
Are we calling them? I won't say that we're doing great follow-ups. We're letting them take the animal in its natural section, and again, we're getting there. If we do 100% out the door, then we don't have to worry about follow-up. But we should be doing follow-ups for those animals that we send out that are intact, and then say, are you really interested, in getting this money back? And like you said, $25 may not be what it's worth. But I don't want to make an animal unattainable of $500 or something, or $100 maybe, which is maybe getting a vet office for that.
Do you think it's a deterrent to adoption, though, when they know that they're getting that money back if they just go get it done?
I would rather, and again, I think these are means now. I'd like to get to ends where they're 100%, and I think with Sarah, once we get that and she knows that we're serious and that this relationship keeps going to that stage, I think we can say, Sarah, can we please have, we know we've got 10 animals. Can we have 10 spots this week?
This is a really big deal that we've got to figure out a way to get to 100%.
You talked about this reserve veterinarian that's coming in. With the relief vet can spay and neuter, correct?
Absolutely.
So, I don't know if you're rotating two, because you talked about her two. Why not, when the relief vet's coming in, we have these dogs here to spay and neuter. So you're gonna have, I'm just making this up because I don't know the answer. If you've got two coming in one time and another one time a week, I'm not sure if that's the way that it's operating, then that one gets all of the unspayed and neutered and has a roster to do. And the ones that come in a couple of days later, that one has to do. So now you have a fill rate of your reserve rather than being idle and not doing anything because they've got, have it as a spay and neuter, one of the primary things that they do, and then have Sarah as well. So now you've got everything. If you could figure out a rotational, that might work.
So, that's a good idea. We could sit here for another hour and come up with ideas on how to do this, but I'm just going to ask you to please put your guys' head together with Sarah, and maybe Diane would have some input too on how do we get that 100% goal, and would you be willing to give us some kind of report at, not this coming HMS committee, unless you come up with something in the next week or two, but maybe by the next meeting, like a path forward.
We have discussed the idea that she had, naturally that would be getting our medical suite back in operation. There'd be some medical equipment involved, or maybe training somebody up in a tech role to help move the animals around. There is some lift to that for sure, and we're not prepared to do that right this second, but it may be for the future. Working with Sarah is our best chance of getting closer to that goal now. 9 of the 189 animals is not even close. We're not scratching the surface.
Right. Now, I just don't want to hope and wish when
No, I'm
major goal set by this committee. I want to know how we can get there, why we can't now. Like, why can't we do it now? Well, we can get there, but it's going to be here because we have to do this, this, and this to get there. I just want that reported because we can dream about it, but we all recognize it's a problem, and they're only breeding other animals in the county. And so we've got to make it a priority
and
to come up with a solution.
We will continue, but Sarah in the Spay and Neuter Alliance has a tremendous surgery day. I mean, there are 50, 80 animals a day. And
I want to hear, though, what she can do.
What can you do? And that's it.
You said 9, this period, I don't know what the period was, but I want her to say to you and to us, I can take on, 15 a week. I can take on 30 a week. They're just not feeding them to me. Then that's on you guys to figure out the transportation or whatever.
Oh, well.
But if it's like, I can only take this many, and then.
Sure, Craddock said he would put them in the back of his Explorer to get them there,
Okay.
Even though
Well, you see what I'm getting at, though. We got to find out what the stop is. Is it her? Is it the ability to get them there? If it's her, we need to find other means and line up 2 more vets or 3 more vets or whatever. Is it a capacity supplying the main thing to get them done? We got to define it so that we can fix it. Goal's worthless if we don't have a plan to get there.
Dr. Enig's office also does it for a reduced price. It's for spay neuter, so you might want to check with them. It's not as expensive as normal, so it's now Sumner Springs, but it's Dr. Enig's office. I would check with them.
Enig's still there?
Okay.
No, I didn't think so.
There's an awful lot. We keep talking about only one person, one privatized entity. Is there anybody else beyond that? I mean, even exploring that? I mean, other counties are able to do that or have everything 100%
That's
spay
an
and neuter.
on-site vet, not a bigger budget is the issue.
I would just go on and look ahead with Sarah and just say, we're bringing this many this week, and then whatever. I would just hold off on adoption and don't send the animal out. It's okay for people to wait 2 or 3 days to get a spayed or neutered pet. Because again, then you send out one, but you're sending 10 back in. So I would, if again, ask her how many she can do, book those, be on cancellation list. That's how I mean, she calls me, or she texts me the other night, and I'll be there, you know, so, you know, those are some ways, but I would not have done there, set out, they can wait, people can wait.
Can you have those discussions and then maybe
I'm
tell us something?
absolutely, and you know, I think that I have a good relationship. I feel that comfortable talking with Sarah, and Miss McMahon. I heard she's hurt herself, banged her up herself pretty good, so I don't know how she's doing now, but I need to find out.
She hurt again? Goodness.
Yeah, but I do want to see those numbers increase as much as she can give us. I think we can supply animals. That's not the issue.
I don't know what her capacity is to do that.
And we get a few knocked out here to there with the vet tech program at Ball State. They ask for animals occasionally, but again, that's on whatever part of the curriculum they're on. They may be doing dental cleanings this month.
I don't even think we should even consider them. That's a bonus if we get any out of them, but we gotta have just a consistent week-to-week
you're right.
operation on how to get there.
I do want to keep that channel open in case we do need a vet tech in the future to help with on-site stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, do you have anything else you wanted to add about your report? Any major milestones, or is that pretty much it?
I don't. I think we're still moving, and my vow to you guys, this committee, and to the public is that I'm not going to stop. I'm a task-oriented kind of guy. I want to get this done. I want to get to an end, and when it's my time to be retired, I want to pass this off in much better shape than I found it to somebody I think is capable to take it even further. So I just and you can't get there by yourself. I think with the help of the subject matter experts at this table and in the audience and at home, that my phone's always open, and I'll consider anything. And I think if we can come together and make decisions together, then we all have ownership in that decision, and it's more palatable for a lot of people, even folks that have different interests when it comes to animals. And if at the end of the day everything goes to rescues and all the pretty dogs go on, and at the end of the day I'm stuck with pit bull mixes, then I will find a home for them if I can.
These are the best.
I took your little piggy today. This was Camp, the one that was found in he's full of mange.
And then the whole thing with pit bulls too is education. People don't really understand, and that's, trust me, I have two, and I love them. I had a rough week with them. But I think some of it, we neglected to talk about education. Again, because the public has ownership of they have to do what's right for their pets. Always. Keep them contained. Yes, can they get out? You have escaped dogs? Yeah, that's fine. But again, you guys do a lot of that work too on the interfacing with the community and educational. Do you need education materials? Can we put stuff on, again, websites where people can become more educated on tips and tools and what to do to make, your pet, and how do we set you up for success, even from leaving this, because National Humane Society is great. They have a little packet. They set you up for success. They have different vendors. You'll be surprised. Some vendors may be very supportive financially. We know that Purina does stuff. But there may be more out there, like the ones that do the paw, like the nose things, to identify your dog. It's like a fingerprint. Another vendor thing that was part of the pamphlet when I adopted Elvis. And so I found it really wonderful to have this kind of information given to the public, even upon, again, what's reachable is the point of service is right there. So that might be some of the things to explore. And look, I'll be happy to facilitate and help whatever I can to find certain things.
Well, I just want to take a minute to thank you for getting involved with this committee, and thank you for taking on the task that Eric asked you to do. I know it's not easy. I'm not going to be somebody that jumps up here and tells you how you should do things, but I did want to promote the relationship between the public and you guys, and I really appreciate you coming, because you didn't have to. I mean, that means a lot to me, and I think the public see a different side now than what they've seen, and I want to ask the public to please stay involved, please follow this, and please hold us accountable. Your sheriff's department, your county commissioners, and come speak at meetings and keep driving this. Let me know how that friends group goes. Someone please take the initiative to start it. I would love to see a Facebook page pop up that, and I'm sure that, Captain would also to help them with some of the areas of expertise that you guys have that they may not. So I'm encouraged by this. This is not over. It's just turn the page to a new chapter. So hopefully I'll see you guys at the next HEMS committee. Anything else have anything to say? Any closing remarks anybody want to give?
I just want to say thank you, and, you know, sometimes what happens is things happen near the tail end that you wish would have happened in the front end, and sometimes you have the wonderment of how far would we have come, because a year is a considerable amount of time to know where you are and where you go. And, you know, I just wish that you were on board sooner, but I'm grateful that you are on board, and, you know, I'm committed to help the animals too, and to do what's necessary to help and facilitate, you know, your team, and to see what we can do to make our county exceptional.
We are excited.
And I just want to say, I mean, I have literally a 37-year history with this animal control when it was fellows on the tractor. Change and that we've seen, and I want to thank you for this committee because you pushed it, and, you know, like I said, they never listened, and I'm not slamming the old sheriff's department, but it makes a difference that there's,
Yeah.
But, you know, like I said, I hope we can work together and continue to improve, and I appreciate it.
I think we will, and like I said, you call me anytime you need to, anybody, you know, my number's no secret, just go to the sheriff's office website, it's there, and if I, you know, I'll get back with you. If I don't have the answer, I'll find it out and then still get back with you. I have nothing to hide. I think that, again, working with the partners in the community is the answer. It does take a village.
Well, thank you, Captain McCoy, and thank you, Kim, for volunteering to do this. And I know you get paid decent some late hours, and I really appreciate you stepping up